Welcome back, club members. Now, I'm pretty excited about this month's theme and this month's wines. Quite often in the Empress Champagne Club, we're custom importing champagnes for members around Australia, and a lot of these champagnes have never been here before. They're new to me, they're new to you. It's a journey of exploration, and we're exploring together. But this month's theme, which is super interesting, and this month's champagnes are very exciting because they're two of my favorites. Long history, long pedigree, very well respected, very well known in Australia. The theme for this month is the art and science of the barrel, and the two amazing champagnes, and I've got to tell you, another banging month on the club, two amazing champagnes that are coming out this month. We've got Geoffroy, Champagne Geoffroy, one of the first men that I met in Champagne 20 years ago next month. René Geoffroy, coming out to all of our lovers with Expression, awesome champagne and super exciting. And if you haven't seen it already, Henri Giraud celebrating 400 years of planting their first vines in the Champagne appellation this year. So I'll actually be hosting one of the celebrations for Henri Giraud in Australia this year, massive party in Champagne a couple of weeks ago. Very exciting wines. This month we're looking at the idea of barrel, the art of the barrel, and how we're taking that to the next level. And this is super interesting. You've got primary fermentation. The way we make champagne, we've got to take that grape juice, we've got to turn it into a wine, and then we've got two choice of vessels for that as a starting point. Of course, we've got many more, but two main choice of vessel. Stainless steel tank, of course, came with the advent of the Industrial Revolution, and the traditional way of making wine, the oak barrel. We have varying sizes of oak barrel, from a large foudre to small Burgundy barrels, which are very well used in the Champagne region. But classically, we're taking Burgundy barrels, but not for Henri Giraud, and Champagne Geoffroy is using multiple different types of barrel size and vessel. I love both of these producers. I've had a long history with both houses. Both of them are the most passionate, dedicated craftsmen. And for different reasons and in different techniques, ironically, they're opposite each other. They're just down the road from each other. Both of them have a long history. Geoffroy, from the 1700s, had vines in the family. Didn't really start making wine under the family name till the 50s, with Roger Geoffroy then handing the baton to René. René was one of the first men that I met in Champagne. And I remember being in 2005 and just arriving as a young girl for the first time, and all I'd heard about is these big brands, and all of a sudden I had some wines from Geoffroy. I remember talking to him in Fringlish because he didn't have a lot of English, and just remembering his passion and his enthusiasm and in his infectious warmth about how he makes wines. And the same with the Giraud family. I've had a lot of tastings in the house where we've had very gastronomic pairings, very gourmand, very gastro-focused champagne house of immense craftsmanship and passion. So our theme for this month is looking at the idea of barrel and how it's used within both houses, because there's something very special and very unique about Henri Giraud. So coming out to all of our champagne lovers around Australia is Champagne Geoffroy. And it has a little place in my heart, of course. One of the first men that I met when I arrived in Champagne in 2005, René, a very infectious personality, a very characterful personality, but of course it's all Fringlish because he had very little English and I had very little French. There's a lot of hand movement and a lot of help from our friends in translating the philosophy of the house. So the family have about 34 hectares of grapes, 35 individual plots, a mix of Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier. Expression, which is the champagne that we've selected for you today, is 50% Pinot Meunier, so leading with Pinot Meunier. Cumières, where the house was located for many, many years before Jean-Baptiste, the current heir, the third generation of winemaker at the Maison, who took over in 2008, moved it to Ailly, to a new production facility. But what I love is that he moved it to a new production facility, but they still keep with tradition. There's two different types of presses. You've got a pneumatic press, which is this fancy, big stainless steel vessel with a balloon inside that inflates it gently, breaks the grapes and allows the juice to run free. Or a cockard press. You know, if you've ever been to Champagne, these big sort of circular presses where you're sort of pressing down on the grapes gently and letting gravity do its thing. The house is still using their cockard press. It allows them a smaller volume of pressing so that they can really extract that 35 plots, fermenting them separately, looking at each of those individual passes and expressing the true essence of the terroir. And what's interesting is that the house can then choose what vessel that they're going into. And they have a mix of vessels. They've got clay amphora, they've got stainless steel vats, they've got foudre, so big oak barrels, smaller barrels. So they're really experimenting with vessel to extract the best personality of that particular plot for that year, for that vine. And Geoffroy is blending 2 years, so 2 different vintages. So he's got 18 and 19 in this particular blend. He's got 50% Pinot Meunier, he's got 20%, 30% Pinot Noir, and then the balance being Chardonnay. Now, what I love, if you juxtapose the 2 wines, and if you're getting the connoisseur level of the club, you have the best example of comparing and contrasting the wines and looking the way the barrel reflects influences, has its footprint on the wines. It's a lot more delicate, it's a lot more subtle in the wines of Geoffroy, whereas the oak is so much more pronounced and such a focal point for the wines of Giraud. And you'll find out why in a minute when I explain that second cuvee, which just blows my mind. But for all of you lovers, we've got Geoffroy. Let's dive into the glass. It's interesting when you open champagne and put your nose in a glass of champagne. And of course, don't forget that your nose has so much potential to gauge what's going on in the glass before you even get to your palate. And this morning I'd been in a technical tasting with a winemaker, so I'd had 12 champagnes already in my glass, but a vastly different profile and style to what I'm about to showcase. So this morning, all of the champagnes were fermented in stainless steel vats, and some of them leading with Chardonnay, whereas here we're the opposite. We've got some influence of oak, we've got no malo, so very bright acidity, and we're leading with Pinot Noir. And it's amazing how vastly different they can be, but still so good. Orchard fruit, red apple, blueberry, big rambunctious, full personality wine, but so crisp, so dry, so elegant on the palate. I believe the dosage on this wine is only 3 grams, so very subtle. And by holding back that malic acid, you've got a really tight acid line. If you wanted to, but I wouldn't, you could be aging this champagne for 2 to 3, 4 years in your cellar. Mirror, you know, however long it's been in the winemaker's to yours is a good reflection of how long you can age it for in your cellar. The influence on the oak is there. You've got some spice, you've got some smoke, you've got some toast, but it's certainly not overbearing in the fruit in any way, shape or form. So beautifully integrated use of vessel. And I can see that he's really choosing plot by plot. This is a talent of the winemaker, and deciding which of his grapes, which of his parcels are going into which barrel, and then how to blend. That's the true art of making champagne. And for all of our connoisseurs, you are extremely lucky this month to have Henri Giraud coming to you. Now, if you've never had an Henri Giraud wine, sit back, settle in. This is something that isn't for the faint-hearted. This is certainly a connoisseur's champagne, and they have that appeal, they have that interest from collectors, from connoisseurs, from wine critics alike. They are very sought after champagnes, and when you're only producing in the ballpark of 250,000 champagnes a year, and some very unique plots and crus, which are quite small quantity, what's happened over time is that their prices have gone through the roof. They are very expensive champagnes, and they are champagnes of craftsmanship, they are champagnes of quality, and they are champagnes of character. And there's no other way of saying it. But what I find most fascinating is this attention to detail when it comes to the barrel regime. This is a house that never stopped using barrel. This is a house that is committed to barrel, but so much so that they're not just going down the road to their neighbors and buying 228 litre Burgundy barrels from, producers that have had enough of their, barrel making time. They are working with the French government. They are working with timber scientists. They are in the Argonne forest located in the Champagne region. They are planting and growing their own trees. They are looking at the analysis of the soil and the tree and matching the tree, matching the timber, coordinating the barrel to pair with a particular cuvee and particular plot of wine and vine. This is another level. I don't know of anyone else in the Champagne region who are so dedicated to the use of alignment with timber barrel and the cuvee. It is extraordinary. It's a level that no one else is going to. They're very much involved with the French government at the moment in their regeneration looking after the forest health, looking after the longevity of production. And of course, this is, not a short-term project. I'm sure these guys are thinking 100 to another 200 years. And hey, they're 400 years this year, so why not look forward another 400 years? It's an extraordinary challenge. And let's be honest, this is a challenge of passion. When you think about the economics of Champagne, looking at a timber plantation that you're going to reap the reward of in 100 years' time is really long-term planning. So coming out to all of our club members for the very first time, we have Espirt, 80% Pinot Noir, 20% Chardonnay, very much cultivated with the barrel in mind. And this is going to be in your glasses to celebrate the 400 years of Giraud for all of our connoisseurs this month. So nice to put Giraud back in my glass again. I had a tasting with the team a couple of weeks ago in plotting and planning for the 400 year anniversary, and it's been too long. We've got a lot of champagnes on Emperor, about 200, and we're tasting continuously. And of course, we're tasting certain champagnes more than others, but this is a wine that I am open to say that hasn't been in my glass enough, and that has to stop. It's such a sought after champagne, and I can see why it is a collector's champagne now. Instantly when I open that bottle, instantly when I put my nose in that glass, I remember why I love champagne so much. And I had this phase, a period of time a couple of years ago where I used to get a bit cranky about overt use of timber, overt use of oak, particularly with Chardonnay dominant champagnes, where I thought it was too much. Using the barrel to open your wines, to extract character out of your wine, to guide your wine in a particular direction is an art, a science, and a skill. And if you are overworking the wine, the base wine, with oak, then for me it can be done. But this is a beautiful use of integration of oak, and it's all oak. The winemaker is a very passionate man. Sébastien Leglove is emphatic, he's eccentric when it comes to use of timber. I love this idea of going into a forest and pairing a tree and a barrel, and eventually it's partnership with a particular plot, a cuvee, a base wine and a champagne. It's extraordinary. Fifth generation winemakers, fifth generation family. I mean, we've got so much pedigree, so much history, so much knowledge, so much understanding, but we are moving somewhere that a lot of other wine houses are not. We see lots of different barrels and vessels in Champagne, but this is an amazing use of timber. I have to say, I love the wine. Go up the tree if you can afford it. We've got a limited allocation of Henri Giraud wines. We will be announcing 400 year celebrations. The wine, 5 grams, 80 Pinot, 20 Chardonnay, no use of Meunier, all use of barrel, a house of pedigree, a beautiful wine. Put your nose in it. It's got some richness, it's got some warmth, it's got some spice, it's got some vibrancy. It is just so generous and at the same time still fresh and still elegant. Great wines for this month. I love the idea of coming back to 2 champagnes that have been in my past, in my wine cellar and on my table many times before, but not for a long time. 2 amazing producers in Henri Giraud, the Geoffroy, Jean-Baptiste Geoffroy from the Geoffroy family. The idea of looking at the way that oak can be integrated with champagne, whether it's a small barrel, whether it's a Burgundy barrel, whether it's an older, larger foudre, or whether it's a custom piece of timber crafted into the barrel from the Argonne forest as close as the Champagne region. That's craftsmanship, that's passion, that's the beautiful thing about Champagne, and I hope you enjoyed this month's champagnes.